Hello guys, this is just a tutorial concerning the acid bass patches that we created in class. A couple of you suggested that I make a video for this. You know how quickly we go through things in class, so hopefully this video will give you opportunity to kind of pause things at each stage and check that you've got the parameters set correctly and things like that. So go through it stage by stage. I'll be running through it pretty quickly still. But you've got the opportunity to pause my voice. So here we go. You'll notice that I've kind of amended my set immediately. I do only need one MIDI track for this, so I deleted my other tracks. And then inside the instruments category, I'm going to drag a blank operator device straight onto the MIDI track like this. And now we looked at all of this in class. We're going to go through things in basically three stages. First of all, we're going to select a waveform. Then we're going to affect our amplitude envelope, and then we're going to affect the filter. And obviously the filter has quite a lot to do with the construction of this sound, most notably this envelope parameter. But we're going to get to that just very shortly. So, first step, we've got our operator in. I'm going to select oscillator A. I can click anywhere inside of here to select the oscillator. And then I'm going to change my waveform using this drop down menu here. So select the list, and I'm going to pick square D. I'm picking square D because it has the most consistent high frequency content. Remember, this view here gives us a view of kind of low transients, high transients. I'm just going to show you a couple in the middle. These are the square waves, these are the variations, and you'll notice that there's not as much high frequency content here. Let's even go up to the 64 one. You'll see the high frequency content gets quieter. It's more attenuated in these particular square waves. I'm going to pick the nice, sharp, crisp, full square wave. Record arm your track, and then just hit the key on my QWERTY keyboard just to make sure that I am indeed hearing a square wave. Awesome, I am. That's it. I've selected my waveform. I'm going to jump into my amplitude envelope now. This view may change when you select your waveform. Let's do it again. You'll see that it changes from the envelope view to the oscillator. Don't worry, we can get back. I'll select my waveform and hit envelope. We're still in oscillator A. I can click to check. All good. So, the acid bass sound. Remember, it's quite a sharp, short, plucky kind of sound. And for me, immediately, I know that if I want a short pluck, there's going to be no sustain on my sound, so I'm going to click and drag the sustain all the way down to the best number in the world, minus infinity, and then hit the key again just to check. Cool. So I'm holding the key now, and because there's no sustain applied, the sound just goes from its decay stage immediately kind of into its release stage here. And they're the next two parameters I'm going to affect. Now I'm going to click and type some values here. At the minute I've been kind of clicking and dragging, which is fine. But the more you kind of design your own sounds and the more adept you get at it, you start to become familiar with certain values and what they're going to achieve for you. So I know that I want my sound decay stage to last around a second, which is 1,000 milliseconds. So I'm going to type 1,000 and hit enter. And then I know I want my release to be a bit longer than this 50 milliseconds as well. I want it to have quite a natural pluck sound. I don't want it to sound too short and stunted, although that might change when we turn it monophonic. But here we go. I'm going to adjust this again by typing a value, and let's make it around 600 milliseconds and then hit the key again. Cool. Awesome. That's pretty good for me. That's my amp envelope. 2-minute job. Reduce the sustain all the way down, push your decay out a little bit, maybe between 600 milliseconds and a second, and push your release out a little bit to be over maybe 200 milliseconds. But this is really up to you. That's that bit done. Okay, so waveform, amplitude envelope, the last part, the last major component is the filter. So I'm going to select the filter. And I'm just going to affect the cutoff frequency first and foremost. Now remember, for this to work, we really need a low pass filter. And it should be set to low pass by default, but if you've knocked your filter to a high pass by accident, you've selected this by accident in your while you've been working, remember that you can select low pass from the drop down menu. It's the first one in the list. Select it, and then just keep clicking to here. Cool, we can hear that the filter's working on that oscillator. Right, now the super important parameter for this acid patch to work is this envelope parameter inside of the filter section. If you remember, what this does is it tells the filter to start at a point that's higher than our inputted frequency cutoff here. So this is how we get that kind of quack, that squelch on the sound. So I would suggest pushing your filter envelope, this parameter, up to over 60% for this to sound like it's working. If it still doesn't sound like it's working, it's probably because your cutoff frequency is too high. Let's observe. I mean, you can still hear it, but it's a lot more pronounced with very low cutoff frequencies. And remember, even more pronounced if we push up the resonance. Okay, and I usually have mine in between like 50 and 60% here. Let's push it to 60. Okay. So that's it. Inside the filter section, you have to make sure you've got a low pass filter selected. Push your cutoff frequency quite low to around 100 Hertz, and push your resonance up a little bit. And then, super importantly, the envelope parameter has to go up. And then the envelope for the filter. Remember not to get this mixed up with your amplitude envelopes. They are different. Now, they look pretty similar here, and I'm going to make them look even more similar. Because what I want to do here is match the filter envelope here to pretty much the same values as my amplitude envelope for oscillator A. So I'm going to select the filter, and then let's kind of match these values. What have I got? I've got a second decay on my amp envelope, so let's match that, 1000 milliseconds. And then I've got 600 milliseconds decay, release on the amp envelope, so let's match that again here, 600 milliseconds. Cool. I like to match the values at least as a starting point, because you know that filter envelope is going to last for at least as long as the amplitude envelope, for as long as the sound's lasting. I'll leave this up on screen for a second. Remember that you can pause this and match the values, but that's basically it. There are a couple of other things that we did. I'm going to go ahead and sequence a little pattern before we do this though. And also remember, when you're sequencing with a bass instrument, low notes work best. So values from like C2 downwards are going to work best here. I'm going to put some notes in at random. Let's listen. Okay, some sort of kind of minor chord here, and I'm going to select my notes, duplicate them. So I'm just selecting my notes and hitting Command and D there to duplicate them, guys, and then let's put one last note in, duplicate that, push it up by a couple of octaves, whatever. The only other thing I would suggest that you do is to make this instrument monophonic, so that only one note plays at a time. And this is really common with bass synth lines, is they're usually monophonic. So the way that we do this is that we select the oscillator routing section here. I'm going to select it, our display changes, and right in the bottom left hand corner we've got this voices selection, this parameter. I'm going to change that from 6 to 1. And to be honest, it has quite a drastic effect immediately. It kind of makes each sound have its own space a little bit more. It's not overlapping with a bunch of other things. That's it. We did do another little bit where we made this instrument glide. Now I'm not going to cover that here, but the glide option is inside of the pitch section here. So we select this and it's here. But there's something we had to do to the amplitude envelope in order for the glide to work. And there was something we actually had to do with the notes themselves as well. And I've done it inside of this clip. Have a good look. I want you to try and explore that bit yourself again. Once you've got the patch finished, try and make it so that the notes will react to gliding. The notes will glide at certain points. Give it a go, a bit of a challenge. I'm being kind of a bit mysterious with it. I want you guys to try and figure it out. But you will have to affect quite a few things, including your amplitude envelope. Ooh, mysterious. Right, okay, that's me signing off for this video. I'm going to do one for the Hoover patch that we did as well. Okay, signing off.